So you left the people with no real choice because the delegate, each party made up his own way of selecting a front runner. So you see the mirage, you see the what is going on. But the people need to be a bit more aware of what is the alternative. Yeah, there is no much alternative other than we need to. It is about working out the true democratic process. If we actually let it breathe, let the democratic process work, then we might say that there will be free and fair election. There will be free and fair principles of democratic government. Whether it's a representative democratic government, which is what I believe what we're trying to practice. There is also, if we are practicing autocrat, is a mixture, is an oligarchy, is a mixture. But to say we're a democratic government, or we practice it, we seem to take a bit of it. Nigeria is a federal republic of Nigeria. So by true sense, we should be democratic in our nature. But because we're a very clever bunch of people, we are very educated people, there has been I'll take a little bit of this, fusion. There's been fusion. So what you really have, you can give it any name you want, but please do not call it democratic system. The American system isn't perfect. There's a lot of fundraising as well, which when money and power mix, it gives you a blend of what are we really getting? You know, we're talking about billions of dollars. I mean, in the Nigerian case, we may never know because nobody's ever come out to say that we don't even raise funds in our Nigerian elections. What do? We call it war chests. What does that even mean in the context? You have a war chest of money, don't even bother to contest. If you're spending 100 million naira in today's value, in pounds or in dollars, that's a lot of money.
It is.
For one individual.
And it's probably a lot less than that. It's probably a lot more than 100 million naira, by the way.
Right. That's just the form.
Depending on what you're...
That's just the form, not your campaign.
The form, okay.
Just the form.
Yes.
That's just expression of interest.
Yes.
What about your campaign? The delegates, vote buying,
logistics.
Yeah. So, and these are one man or one party show. It's a lot of money. So we are not even raising funds. So where are these money coming from? So that tells you that it's a complete state capture when they're not there to represent the people. Because there's a lot of investors, like any businessman, you need to get you need to get a return on your investment.
So I have a question. So thanks for that, for bringing all that together. So you mentioned 1960, you mentioned 1966 with the first military coup that took place in Nigeria, and then you went to 1999, where you talked about Obasanjo coming in through selective process, and obviously we're in 2024 now. Why do you think? So what happened between that 1966 time and current state, and why have we deviated from that era to our own version of what democracy is?
I think the fault line lies in when people have been oppressed for so long.
So through the military
regime, and things started to go bad economically. Man's main purpose, Maslow's need of hierarchy is you need to survive. Food, shelter is your most important need. So the populace are so beaten down, trodden upon, so much so that their focus isn't on who is governing them. Their focus is about their own survival. And if it means that I get pittance come the next 4 years cycle to go, I need you to vote for this person and give me 100 naira or 1,000 naira or 5,000 naira or however many. Some people are even spending dollars these days. So if I'm getting that, and if that's my dividend, so-called, I'm not agreeing with this, but so-called, if this is all I get in 4 years, This is why I say that the oppressed have no true they have no stake. They have no stake. They have no the self-worth of individual has been eroded. Bad roads, no lights, failure of the educational system. Young people don't even know their own history. Apparently, might not don't quote me on this. Nigerian education system banished history.
That's a fact.
Well, okay.
That's a fact.
I wasn't sure. So if you banished,
That's a fact.
if you banished history in educational system, there's something wrong.
Yes.
So where do we get
And what is being hidden?
What is being hidden, and who will fill the gaps for? So, who fills that gap for those young people? So they're going to be the most educated in the next 20 years or whatever, but their education is missing a big chunk of who they are, their identity
From the past.
From the past.
Yes.
If you don't know where you're coming from, how do you know or learn from the steps that's gone wrong
To know where you're
going and where you're channeling where you want to where you're heading to? So that's a big. I was shocked when I heard that, and I thought, right, what is it that our history is not even taught at school? The British still teaches their own history, so why would the Nigerians
not teach theirs?
Not teach theirs?
Yes.
So who's gonna fill in the banks? So you leave the chance for somebody to tell your own history. When you know, a certain I think our generation, definitely, we did history. We did languages, the local languages. So Nigerians have lost those foundational elements for their youth of tomorrow. So what we are producing now is progressive, yes, because we are international, but progressive, but yet you've got a lot of foundational elements wrong. So what is wrong with that? That's particularly what's wrong. Just a long answer to your question, which is when people are beaten down, trodden, and there is no way out, the last thing a poor man that cannot feed is thinking about is, am I choosing the right candidate to represent me? No.
So the reason why I asked that question, and the reason why I took us back before we continue to talk about, why you think it's an illusion, is there's several schools of thought that believe that the military era in Nigeria is better. Bridges were built. There was more semblance of, order in terms of discipline. There was fear, yes, as there would be in a military government. But many people have said, hey, during the military, this wouldn't happen. The sums of money that we're hearing about that are being stolen, the sums, the way people flaunt money wasn't like that during the military era. Military era wasn't that bad. Are we suffering from recency bias, or is it a genuine concern?
I think we're suffering from.
Or is there something?
It's an abusive relationship.
Is there something there?
It's like somebody's been in an abusive relationship, and presumably the previous partner was better than the other one. No, that's nonsensical. That's a fallacy to think that any kind of, whether it's democratic, like I said, that the word democracy within the Nigerian or the African, within the African context, within our context, is not new. We've always practiced democracy. We just never called it that.
Like you said, yeah.
So the alien amongst that is the military ruling, because we had our warriors who had one job, is to defend and to defend integrity of our land. So suddenly having those guys
in governance,
but
that's not what they're trained for.
That's not what they're trained for. So
got you.
So to say that the military, no, you tell me. You've been around long enough now. So let's see. From the 70s, would you say 79 Obasanjo gave it to the then Democratic government? It was there for 2 years.
Shehu Shagari came in 79.
Right. Okay. So since then, Buhari truncated that.
Yes.
So as a student of history, what happened? We have a descent in every facet of Nigerian economy. Buhari in charge. Nobody really wanted him there, even amongst his own colleagues, the military oligarchs.
Babangida took over power
took over
in 85. Yeah.
Right. Babangida took over, stage managed the whole orchestrated. Yes, they built bridges. Building bridges is not a measure of success of a nation. We didn't put you there to build bridges. Those are given. Those are infrastructural projects that needed to be done anyway to facilitate it is not a case. Here's this build bridges. What does that even mean? What does that mean to build a road or bridges? If you like, don't build it.
Some people say the economy is not just building bridges, but
the economy was. But
the economists.
The 70s, we had a dollar. We had. I remember my grandmother, God rest her soul. She would say "bon," which means
£1.
£1. No, £1 to £2. Am I saying this right?
What year was this?
So that's £2 to £1 in the 70s.
Wow.
So my grandmother was not educated, but she was a businesswoman. So that's how they would say in the Oyo region or any Yoruba speaking state, they would say bonko, meaning for every £2, £2 would make £1. That's how strong our currency was.
Yeah.
80s, we got to 1-to-1. By the time Buhari left, things were already going lopsided. IBB got in 85, 86. These guys, we know the story how that went. So how can you say the Nigerian economy was so strong in the military era? What about the damages that were done to the Nigerian psyche? I'm a child of the 80s. So growing up in the 80s, you remember how things were. The scar that you had, the military whipping people on the streets. There was no control. There's godo. There is for last song so I mean man go whip your, there's so many things that were done in the 80s in the name of the military government. We are not animals in our own country. So those experiences, those scarring that people had, are still being done in the so-called civilian democratic nature. You get stopped by Nigerian police today, and you might get a slap. You might get a overzealous police officer who will hit you with a butt of a gun.
Yeah.
Where is those mannerisms come from? Indiscipline, perhaps, or so we cannot say the trade-off of having the military is, but everything around it was so wrong. How people were treated. We talked about tolerance. We talked about equity and fairness. If you didn't have any connect within the army or the military, you didn't go anywhere. So how can you say, or how can people have that illusion? Again, that's another illusion or fallacy in this case. That the military,
that it was better.
That was better. There was nothing better about it. It was just, people they forced themselves on you.
So, I mean, thanks for that. So the question now for me is, if our democracy is an illusion, then what system are we practicing?
The system we're practicing is exactly what it is. It's an oligarchy system. You can put democracy on the end of it. The oligarchy, democracy, or that's why we're practicing. Yes, we're a federal republic of Nigeria. By the sense of republic, we're democratic in a way. We should be, but we have a spin-off, which I believe is a mixture, is a combination of dictatorship. Yes, there's checks and balances. That's what the job of the
executive, legislature, and the judiciary
should be,
and the media.
But that there's a state capture somewhere, right? So the checks is not always there. Rarely do you get the executive and the legislature get to a stalemate. Never. It might be for a few, just for the media, for it to play out in the media, but they never get in the stalemate that nothing moves. At least you get the illusion of that in the American system. passing the budget or needing a budget for war to be passed. But if the parliamentary, I say parliamentarian because the British system, the American system, if the legislation don't pass that will never happen. The president is constantly lobbying for that to happen. In the Nigerian system, rarely even to sign the budget, rarely have you had the legislative stand up against the executive, scrutinize the budget to the level where even we're not passing this budget because we need you to answer to this.
There have been delays, though. To be fair,
they've been delayed. That's why I said about the fourth pillar, which is the media.
Yes,
the delay. We can let it play out
in terms of not signing the budget when they're supposed to sign it and appropriate it into law.
But somebody's already spending against the budget that's not been. I'm not talking about this.
I understand.
This current one.
I understand.
But I'm sure something similar played out during the Buhari regime. So what are we talking about that things? So I think we have a combination of the oligarchy.
Oligarchy, okay.
We have a combination with the autocratic to a certain extent.
Is that, would you say
executive power?
Would you say because
the presidential power in Nigeria is almost
similar to the Saudi royals, I would say?
We're not a monarchy because our monarchies are.
No. I'm saying in the spirit, not in laws. Not everything has to be.
Yeah,
like the power that the Nigerian president has is one of the highest powers in the world.
Yes, it is.
You agree?
Absolutely. It's near an absolute power. Near absolute.
Which is where the autocratic part is coming into.
So that's what I said. The autocrat, the guys that have to work with him, I say the oligarchies, because they decide who is going to be the next president. At least who's going to be the face of them. And to a certain extent, we have that multi-party, but I say we have a single party. When I say we have a single party system, only one party trumps all the other. Whoever's the central dictates what happens. Everybody falls in line. Because you will be in the, what the politician would say, we're going to be hungry for another 4 years. So toe the line. Don't rock the boat.
So what Toks was just saying earlier, I mentioned two parties, APC and PDP. Those are still the biggest parties in Nigeria today. And what he was just explaining earlier, viewers, that when one party does get into power, you quite see a lot of people, a lot of big players in the other party cross carpet, as it's called in Nigeria, and join the ruling party because everything really flows. So it's not. So we have a two-party system. It was really one party that sort of like enjoys the spoils of office, for the lack of a better word. And I have a couple of more questions before we round up. And I think this has been an engaging conversation. Viewers, please, this isn't a one-way street. We want you to leave comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have anything else to add to the context of the way we practice democracy in Nigeria? But going back again, back to the 60s, right? So we were granted independence on the 1st of October 1960. We had a system where, for me, it was a mixed system from the beginning. And I explain what I mean. So we borrowed the parliamentary system of the UK, but then we blended the presidential system of the United States. Bicameral. Is it bicameral? Or bicameral? Something like that. I might have got it wrong. Please. Exactly. That's why I need you in the comments. So we have a president and then we have a prime minister. So I'm like, from my limited history view of history, you either have a president or you have a prime minister. You don't have a prime minister and president. But I now understand why they did that. So the president was ceremonial, but then you now had the person who was like in charge of the country in terms of the actual powers, the prime minister. Now, why I'm asking that question is, from 1960 to about 66, when the coup happened that you mentioned earlier, we had a regional system of government.
Right, absolutely.
Now, and from that regional system of government that we had after that coup took place till today as we speak, we've either done the military system or what you call our own democratic system, which is an illusion. Do you think that regional system was better than all the stuff that happened after that? And do you think that's something that, and that's going to segue into sort of like conclusion and final thoughts as to what can we do differently?
I never thought the regional government was never going to solve any problem. Yes.
Why do you say so?
Regional just sounds to me more like tribalism.